Okay, there we go. All right, now I can start. So we do have guests to talk about the signage in front of the school today. So I do want to just throw them in before we get into the thick of everything so that we don't have them on the call the entire time. So I'm thinking after my update, I'd like to add a section 5B-A for discussion of the signage options for the front of the middle school. Are there any other edits or changes people want to make to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with that one addition.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, give me a thumbs up with your little reaction button. John and then Ken. All right, motion carries. Minutes from January 22nd. Everyone get a chance to read them. Anyone have any changes? If not, take a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, give me a thumbs up. Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries. Any public comments, Shannon?
No public comments.
Okay. All right. So a couple of things to update. So you're all aware that was it yesterday?
Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Monday. The town had a special meeting to talk about the turf option for the town of Cromwell. I was actually extremely impressed with the students who came out and spoke out, like very eloquent, very well put together. They answered questions from the town council. I was very thoroughly impressed with all of them. So kudos to all of them for showing up and speaking up and really taking part in our whole, the process, the political town process. It was really great to see them all do that. There was no decision made Monday as far as whether or not we're going to be putting a turf field at the middle school. They deferred that vote to their meeting next Wednesday because they're still doing more discovery and information. They took a lot of comments in. A lot of people spoke up. I think there was more comments in favor of a turf field somewhere in Cromwell, not necessarily at the middle school. There are a lot of drawbacks to having it at the middle school. The biggest one is that the football team wouldn't be able to use it. And they came out and a big crowd came out from the football team really advocating for a turf field that they can practice on. So as far as we're concerned, we're still going with our grass until we're told otherwise. I know we're hoping to have an answer by the end of January. Now it's gonna be middle of February. And I couldn't tell either way based off of the conversations Monday night if they were leaning towards having it at the middle school or not. It's like there's just trade-offs no matter which option they go with. So it felt like Pearson Park was a good option, but they'd have a limited usage there. So again, lots of stuff that the town council gets to mull over and think about, and they can vote on whatever they want to do next Wednesday on that. Right after that meeting, there was another special meeting the town council had to talk about the easement resolution that had to be made. So basically, this is with the Eversource easement that went to our town lawyer. Town lawyer okayed it, and the town council approved it. So I think we're all set now with Eversource and getting power where we need to get power. So that's, I feel like a huge milestone for the project. So I'm glad that we got that behind us. And I don't know, Chris, if we need any formal documentation from the minutes of that meeting for Eversource. You let me know if we need anything formal to give back to Eversource or Joe, whoever's coordinating with them.
As far
Um,
as as far as I'm concerned, the process is moving forward, and I'm hoping to see Eversource out on site before the end of the month to start looking at pulling the wire and whatnot.
awesome.
And a piece of good news is that we got our last piece of the main gear. They were putting together two sections of it when I left the job site today, so
Great.
we'll be ready.
Awesome.
Thank
Exciting.
you.
So today I invited our friends to talk about signage for the middle school. So this whole concept of the sign keeps popping up and down, and I apologize. I know you're like, I thought we put this to bed already. We did, but the numbers just didn't make sense to me. And when I hear comments from the administration where they feel like they're not being heard or that their desires are not being taken into consideration, I take that personally. Like I really want to make sure that we're listening to them and really um, taking what they have to say into deep consideration. And just looking at the weather these days and thinking about the poor administrators who have to like walk through snow to go put little pieces of cardboard up on a wall for messaging just sounds so 1955. So I asked Ron, can we have maybe a more focused discussion as to what we really truly need for electrical signage, digital signage in front of the school that is not tacky, that allows the admins to put like just the message. We don't need video, we don't need graphics, we just need a sign that says, "Hey, open house tonight." Basic. That's that's affordable. That's not like too extravagant. Um, because I think we can do a lot cheaper than what we had than it was originally quoted to us. So that said, there are options available to us, and Mark is here to show. Mark, if you have some of those pictures that you had, otherwise I can pull them out of the email just to show what some of the options um, that you had provided to us during. We had a short conversation yesterday just to kind of see like, are we in the right ballpark? Are we still looking at like lots, tens of thousands of dollars for this thing? Or are we looking at something more reasonable, like under $20,000? And um, I think we can do something reasonable and incorporate the digital signage all at the same time. So I'd like to just kind of have a discussion over like, what we would want in that sign in front, because we do need to kind of get moving on it. What we don't want, if we care about like single-sided, double-sided, where it's going to be, like all of that stuff. I just want us to like finally nail it down and move on. So we don't have any pricing today. I think we kind of have ballpark figures for the most part. I can tell you that if we did anything with masonry, like actually used brick to build something, it's going to be expensive, right? Because you're going to have to like prep the ground, you're going to have to get the mason out, and you're talking like tens of thousands of dollars for anything that involves masonry. But you can do composite, you can do wood for a lot less, and a lot more affordable. And as far as the digital signage, Grace was really great yesterday, kind of explaining the package. So I didn't realize this myself until I spoke to her, that when you purchase the digital screen, you're not just purchasing the hardware, you're actually purchasing the cellular service for that. You're purchasing the software that goes with it. So you're not paying like a cellular charge every month. You're not paying a software licensing thing every month. It's all inclusive in the cost of the actual screen. There's like I think it's a 5-year warranty, Grace, right? And actually, Grace, maybe you can just say what does it all include for?
Sure. So it's not consistent across the electronic message center market that everyone includes connectivity and software. There are some companies that charge those as separate line items. For us, it's all wrapped into one package. It's a one-time cost. And that's so there's no reoccurring subscription fees or service charges. So you guys have chosen cellular lifetime. So we manage the relationship with Verizon for the lifetime of the sign for it to be online and get its programming through cell towers. The software itself is a cloud-based software. You can delegate as many users access as you'd like, and we handle 100% of the training and the retraining. We've got a bunch of videos and frequently asked questions on our website, as well as you can join live seminars with our tech team. When it comes to support, the sign comes with lifetime tech support and training, a 5-year parts warranty, a 10-year parts availability guarantee, as well as a spare parts kit. And anytime there's a sign going outside like this, it's a computer that's going to be outside. It's not a matter of if something's ever going to happen to it. It's a matter of when and what's it going to be. And that spare part kit allows you guys to have everything possible on hand to minimize any downtime associated with that sign. And Mark will be able to help you guys out when it comes to replacing modules or cables or anything like that.
Excellent. The screens, monitors, whatever you want to call them, come in 1 foot by 1 foot panels, correct, Grace?
Yeah, we build in 1 foot by 1 foot, and we have no border on ours. So that makes it really convenient for picking out a size.
And I think we said that if we wanted like 3, so right now the school uses like 3 lines when they put their messaging up. If you did a 2 foot by 5 foot sign, you'd end up with, you could have 3 rows, and each of those letterings would be about 8 inches tall. That's big. That'd be big
Yep.
letters. So you
And
could
you
have
could
like
do
4 lines or less.
Yeah, you could do more lines than that, but your text is going to get pretty small at that point.
Right.
So 3 lines of 8-inch text will look great on a 20 millimeter 2 foot by 5 foot sign.
And you said that the I don't know if call it pixelation, but the what's the word? Like so it's
Pixel
20
pitch?
pixel pitch. Like
Mhm.
basically you're not going to want to put videos on there, right?
Yeah, so a quick crash course. Pixel pitch is the measure of the center of one pixel to the center of its neighbor. So the wider that distance is, the less pixels you have per square foot. So 20 millimeter is one of our lower pixel pitch options, but it's higher in number, but it's lower resolution. On the opposite end, there's a 6 millimeter where they're really close together. For your guys' application, we talked the other day, and it seemed like a 20 millimeter might be the best choice. You will have limited photo and video capabilities on there, but my understanding was that you guys were looking for mostly text.
I think so. Right, Lisa? Text. Lisa in the spot.
Is that one-sided or two-sided?
You can get it in double-sided. So single-sided, the single-sided screen, we said it was like $8,500-ish, Grace?
I don't know what Mark's numbers were for you guys.
Okay. Is Mark? It was something like under 9, and then if you wanted double-sided, it was like over 9, but it wasn't like double the cost.
Like double, okay.
Yeah, I operate on the strictly wholesale side of things, so I'm happy to help on software, tech support, everything like that. I just don't know because he has all the permitting costs in there, the installation costs, everything like that.
Yeah, we don't have like a full quote or anything like that, so we don't have those numbers. We have like ballpark numbers right now just for conversation. So if we did something, I would say similar to what the fire station has, which is the wooden poles with the screen in the middle and some kind of wooden thing on top. You're looking like probably under 20 grand for the whole thing, not including the cost to run the electric out to the sign. But then there's like additional options, like we could put like landscaping around it. We could put I don't know, Mark, are you able to just kind of provide verbally the options of things that we could do? I don't know if his audio is working. I did email out to everyone. In your email, there's pictures that Mark sent of some options.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have me now?
yes.
Okay. Yes, we could definitely help, but unfortunately my computer is not cooperating, so I'm here via cell. Can't really help show photos, but I did send a couple of monument pieces that would be a ground mounted piece, which would be more of a traditional ground monument piece, PIP printing being one of the ones that we've done very recent for ourselves. It doesn't include the digital display aspect of things, but that gives you an idea what can be done in a composite without having to get into mortar work. Our particular piece was stonework and have the concrete look to the piece without having to go with the expense of having all that masonry done. Some of the other photos that I shared were again brickwork as a faux treatment into the composite material to give the illusion. We can, with some decent photos of the brick facade of the school itself, we can make an attempt to emulate that paint pattern. That would all be doable in either anything that we're doing in a composite material. We can emulate that paint pattern. If trying to tie the color schemes to the brick of the building sounded like it was an issue, we can definitely help with that. But range, what I really kind of need to get for numbers is get a direction that the entire group is really looking at, whether it's going to be more towards the direction of the firehouse sign that I was given as a sample, or more towards the monument. But price range, you are very correct in your approximation of 20 for like the fire department piece. Ground mounted piece, doing everything out of composite, you're probably closer to the $28,000 range. But I think if you're talking masonry and doing it all in a traditional format, you'd be substantially higher than that by at least a third.
I have a question. If it's composite, what kind of base is it? What type of footing is holding that to the ground?
Actually, the way those signs are constructed is there's two solid steel poles, galvanized, that protrude up the inside piece, and it's simply cemented into the ground using those poles, very similar to the way you would put up a chain link fence.
Okay.
So there's really not a footing required. There is no base concrete work necessarily needed. Normally they're just placed on that pole, and then the composite is glued and foamed to the pole to give it the rigidity. In your size piece, there would be a total of four poles. That's the traditional method for mounting some of those. Now, the area of caution in a ground mounted piece is we would definitely need to talk about doing some groundscaping, landscaping in that area. Very durable as far as the sign material goes with the composite covering. You just don't want to be weed whacking grass against it for its life. If that can be avoided, what traditionally is done is they'll either build some kind of a garden edge and simply pour mulch and do plantings to actually create level and give a ground effect and eliminate the need to have to weed that area. Did that answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sure. Anything else? Specifics? I don't know how many of those photos were shown, but sky's kind of the limit, budget being the deciding factor. And obviously in a single-sided versus a double-sided and the orientation that we place it on that corner. Currently, I've been kind of instructed it's looking to replace and be in position of the old alphabet letter sign, the changeable sign with the locking face that you have to run out and put the little slided letters in. Still definitely an option. It hasn't gone away. It's just not quite as somebody said 1950s kind of a look. That's kind of the technology you're dealing with there. The message board again is updatable via cloud software at any point at any time by whoever has access. So if it's a snow day and there's nobody in school to handle this, they can dial in and change the message on the board and instantaneously 24/7.
If I could ask, if relative costs, if, let's assume a single-sided sign, if the choice were to go to a 3-foot by 5-foot sign with the 20 millimeter pixels versus a 2 by 5 with the 6 millimeter pixels, how do those costs compare?
Not prepared for that question quite as of yet. But you're talking, I did do some rough numbers with a 20 millimeter only because you were originally talking about just running text. Let's see, the entire monument, one-sided, 60 by 24 for the video, that would be 9 inches deep. We're right around the $9,400 range for the single-sided piece. The top is around $5,000 to do it in the same format as the fire department piece. So that would be emulating the look of the fire department, not really knowing the scale of the fire department sign. But that would be in a 5-foot by 5-foot overall, because the top portion is 3-foot by 5-foot, and the bottom portion is 2-foot by 5-foot for the message board. So your overall is a 5 by 5 sign.
The reason for my question is that with a 24-inch tall signage module at 20 millimeter pixels, I mean, if it's the same,
Yep.
20 millimeters vertical as well as horizontally, that's only 30 pixels tall, which could be pretty limiting or pretty blocky when it comes to the text that you'd be able to display. So thinking if we stayed with the less expensive, 20 millimeter, I would think maybe you'd want it 3 feet tall worth of message so that you could fit some text.
Okay, we can definitely spin that option off.
Or is it practical in the long run to go to a more
Finite.
a finer pitch
No, I
on the pixels?
I definitely understand. Now, the higher pitch would gain you the availability to do some form of graphic in the background. Obviously, resolution would be that much more substantial, and readability from a farther distance would be enhanced. Grace, I think, can illuminate you a little bit more on that side of the equation. I'd be more than happy to. Now, I was told town ordinance is putting us at 48 square foot total for that sign. So I'm trying to work within those parameters as well. So if we did do the 3 by 5 video display or digital display at the bottom, we would need to reduce the top portion. Doable. However, I don't know that we can incorporate, the school slogan line and a couple other things that were thrown out in the past, duplicating the old blue sign that's currently there. But we could definitely keep school name. Obviously, have enough room, but we'd flip flop it. The video display would be 3 by 5. The upper portion would be 2 by 5, and then with the cutouts we have in the arch, we're still staying within that 48 square foot town requirement.
When it comes to displays, this is going to sound rich coming from the manufacturer of them and the salesperson for Mark. These signs have an average lifespan of between 15 and 20 years. So it's definitely an investment to consider. In 10 years' time, you guys might decide to change the sign for whatever the technology is at that point, whether it be a finer pixel pitch or even a hologram. I think all end users like you guys, the best solution is to get the largest sign that you're allowed for ordinances and in the best pixel pitch you can afford. But I understand that there's limitations there on budget, there's limitations on permitting. I think if you were to do a higher resolution, a lower pitch, like a 6 mm, that would position you great to do photos or videos, GIFs, animations, stuff like that. I would recommend at that point shifting to a 3 foot by 5 foot. That would get you a better aspect ratio for the types of photos you'd be wanting to put on the sign.
Correct. I definitely agree with that as far as displaying videography or anything along that lines. I know the town currently is limiting moving backgrounds and flashing, but who knows what the future town ordinances might grow into. So by positioning yourself to meet town ordinances now with the 20 pixel piece, it doesn't give you a lot of growth room in the future for the next 10 to 15 years, or 15 to 20, which is the life of the display. So I think what will help with that is to put some numbers along with those ideas, which I can definitely work out in the next day or two. I had planned on getting some renderings done for a ground mounted versus the firehouse look, to give you some A and B options. I just did not, unfortunately, have the time to pull those together after yesterday evening's meeting, but we're striving to get that done. I should have that within the next day or two.
Well, just to show my age, back when I was a kid, there was a thing called Light Bright. And
There you go.
if you took a 6 mm pixel pitch is roughly 1/4 inch. 20 mm is roughly 7/8 of an inch. So Light Bright versus, a marshmallow, you're going to get a whole lot better image with Light Bright pegs than you are by stacking marshmallows together. So I just don't think the
You are
committee,
correct.
when we say, oh, this is cheaper, let's look at that. I don't think the committee is going to be satisfied with the resolution you'd get out of the 20 mm, even if it was, $3 and the other was $100. I don't think you'd be thinking that you spent your $3 wisely.
For just some comparison numbers for you guys, if we were looking at a 3 foot by 5 foot, a 20 mm is 45 pixels by 75 pixels. Bumping it up to a 6 mm, the total opposite end of the spectrum, there's a couple steps to get there. You're looking at 150 pixels by 250 pixels. Percentage wise, the 20 mm is the lowest resolution with 225 pixels per square foot. Well, that's in total for the size. The 15 mm is 1.8 times the resolution of the 20. And then the 10 mm is 2.3 times the resolution of the 15. And then the 6 mm pixel pitch is 2.8 times the resolution of the 10. So they just keep bumping up. So it's going to be more than quadruple the resolution for less than double the price.
Yeah, those are good numbers. And I was looking at the brochure, I think that Rosanna sent around. I don't know if everyone has that from the email, but I was just going to ask what page this is. Like halfway down, there's a few signs that look like they're in front of schools, Carver School and Lavernia Junior High. I don't know if you have that one in front of you. Like what just for comparison, like I don't know if you know what the quality is on those or the size, but could we be looking at something like those, or?
Let me find the sizes of those for you. Let's see here.
Is it possible to share a screen with what these look like? I was just trying to open it. I can't open it on my computer.
If somebody has it, I can make them a co-host and allow you to share. Matt, have you got it teed up?
Matt has them up.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Okay, yeah. Open.
It's important to note that some of these photos are digitally edited. It's very difficult to photograph EMCs. The refresh rate and the capture rate of your camera doesn't often line up. We try to edit them as close as possible to how they might look in real life. But we've been experimenting with different ways to achieve that. So a couple of these, like one of the Carver schools that's on our website, I can tell it's edited. But when it comes to the build, that definitely can help guide Mark on what you guys are looking for.
Sure.
All right,
Can I
Matt, you
share?
you can share if you wish.
Okay, yeah. That might help. Yeah, there's a whole bunch here, but these were the ones I was yeah, these two here.
The Carver sign is a 2-foot tall and 8-foot wide 10mm display.
The screen, right? The screen component
The
is so that
electronic message center portion,
the
yes.
top looks
Yeah.
like same. Okay.
Yeah, that's just a static light box.
Mhm.
So what one would closely resemble the one you described, the 4 posts?
Yeah, I didn't
How's it?
see.
Which one we'd be closest to that?
We don't have a 3-foot by 5-foot display in
Or the shape?
here. Let me see.
Or
Like
even
even,
just a 4 points, right? That's what you're asking, John. Is there one where there's 4?
what would that look like?
Yeah.
I believe one of the photos that I shared with the ground monument pieces was a 4-poster. That would have been a 5-foot by 10-foot. So 10-foot wide, 5-foot tall. And that, I believe, had a very small video display incorporated in it. That was only a 1-foot by 3-foot video display. And unfortunately, like I said, I can't pull the pictures up, but
Yeah. All I have here is very small images from that email.
got it.
But this center mounting thing, does this rely on I mean, this must just rely on like a base foundation core as well, I assume.
Yeah, these are single pole mounts with a concrete footer.
So if we want to get
Correct.
this up by opening day of school, how much time do we have before we have to decide? Are we still way ahead of it?
For the composite sign piece, full monument sign is about 8 to 10 weeks out.
Okay.
I believe Grace could respond a little bit on the quickness of the turnaround time on her end for the digital side of it, but really the construct of the composite sign I think is going to be the longer out. So 8 to 10 weeks. That should definitely give us plenty of time before school opens in August. Well, September, August now, sorry about that. But yeah, we do have some time to consult. Obviously, the more fact finding we do, the tighter I can get those numbers. And the more realistic a conversation we can be having. Right now, it's a little bit hypothetical and a little bit more fact finding. But once we've got a direction and I can put an A and B in front of you and say, you know, A costs this and the ground mount costs that, I think the board would have a lot better information than some of the hypotheticals we're talking about. Position of the sign and whether or not we can get away with a single sided is going to make a big difference. If we have to go 90 degrees or perpendicular to the road, it'd be on the baseball side. Then I think we would definitely want to be talking a 2-sided sign, but it impacts the cost, not double, but it does impact the cost pretty extensively.
I think we have a single side sign today, so I feel like we should be okay with that.
Okay.
And state. And then, you know, that's just the sign. Then Chris, we have to like get power over to the other side of the road.
Yeah, I
and
looked at
the sign. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd looked at the design team to see what the power requirements were, and then I'd take it from there.
Okay.
And we don't need data because it's cellular. Is that correct?
Right.
That is correct.
I think the data was the big cost, right? Pulling that line out.
Yeah, approximately 900 feet from the building through that pipe. That's a lot of coax cable to pull through there. So that you would definitely have that savings by going cellular. And Grace, if you can just kind of talk briefly about the going cellular versus pulling cable, the benefits and ballpark. Well, you can't really talk to the cost side of the equation, but ratios wise, wasn't it about half?
Like the cellular is about half the cost of if you were to run cable.
Correct.
Yeah, it's very much an exchange there because on our end of things, as the manufacturer, going with cellular does increase the cost of the EMC from us. But if you chose to not go cellular and instead go with Ethernet, well, then you're adding the cost of the cable and running it and trenching it and everything associated with that. Oftentimes it just doesn't, it's not worth it. Especially when with cellular, you get a faster connection, as well as it's less likely to be kicked off of your internet should you have any alterations to your service or your internet or even your firewall. So I think cellular is by far our most popular option. There's a couple options along the way, but Mark and I spoke about it, and it seems like cellular might be the best choice for you guys.
Just to check, oh, go ahead, Heather.
I just had a question about the cellular. Once we purchase the cellular plan that comes with it, it's a locked-in price, correct?
Yes, it's a one-time purchase for the lifetime of the sign. And we
I
manage
know how
the
often
relationship.
Verizon increases their
Yeah.
rates. I feel like I'm forever getting emails about your charges going up, they're going up, they're going up. So I just wanted to make sure that once we're locked in, the district isn't, if the Verizon rate goes up, we aren't then going to get a supplemental notice from you guys that the rates went up and now the balance is X.
I mean, it's a good question. But for you guys, it's a one-time cost at the time of the purchase. We do so many signs on cellular that we get a bulk discount. So we do have an option where if you guys had like a cell plan and you wanted to manage that relationship and you provided the data and we just provided the radio, we could do that. Ultimately, you won't be saving any money just because of the big discount that we get. We do have options for cellular where you pay for 5 years in advance or 10 years in advance. And then at the time that that expires, we contact you and say, hey, do you like cellular? Do you want to continue it? Or would you rather downgrade to Wi-Fi or Ethernet or any of those other options? At that time, the price has probably changed and we give you the price at that point. But by paying for the lifetime, you're locking in that price right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to ask Chris a question. So I know we've already run the conduit out to that area, right? Is it the cable that would still have to be, if we were to say we're going to wire the thing up, we're not going to go with cellular. Like, what's the difference between what we've already done and what we would have to do in order to get everything out to the sign?
Yeah, all that's there right now is the pathway. Any kinds of communications cable or power cable would need to be priced up.
Okay. So we've gotten ourselves halfway-ish there to getting something out to the sign. So we'd probably,
The
I don't know
900 feet,
how much the difference would be. So would we price up both just to finish the job to run the cable or do cellular?
Okay, I can definitely do some sign numbers to incorporate either option. As far as the power conduit goes, Ron and I had discussed a little bit about the supply that's already going down there for the existing light poles. These message boards can run off either 110 or 240. So I was told that the 240 line is already out to the pole, and we could probably just branch off the closest pole to get to the sign location. So we're not talking about doing a home run all the way back to the building to get a 110 circuit down there. So that would be a pretty substantial cost savings there. But as far as the cost to pull cable through what you've already piped and continue that Ethernet cable to the distance of the sign, I can just answer the cost of the sign portion your contract GC would have to get, respond to you as far as the cost of pulling that line. So it would be the
Yeah, no,
pavings
that's
and the
fine.
sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to recognize that we've done some of the work already.
Right.
We just didn't go all the
Okay.
way with all the cable. Yeah.
Right. And Heather, this is Ron. And again, once we get the power requirements for the sign, we'll give it to, Joe and his engineers, and we'll make sure that, whatever we have at the poles, or we have to do a home run, we do have power there, which we could probably pull, we're not pulling much off it, but we just got to make sure that what we're doing is compliant.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Question for Grace: do you have fiber optic interface if we did want to wire? Because 900 feet is too far for us to go with Ethernet.
We can do fiber, yeah. We would just be configuring the EMC for it. It would be because we don't even provide the cables. We
Right.
just make sure that the EMC is ready to receive the input.
But you do have a cable. I mean, a fiber interface that you can provide.
Correct.
All right. So what are the next steps here? Do we need to decide on anything tonight, or we go out for quotes or review with the school?
I recommend that the design subcommittee maybe have a discussion and think about like what options we would want to explore, and then work with Mark to kind of get some renderings that we can then,
Sure.
that they can come back to the building committee with what their options are.
We can do that.
I think we should explore a static option as well.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Any other questions for our friends while they're here before we let them enjoy the rest of the evening?
So Roseanne, we'll catch up tomorrow, and we can coordinate with the subcommittee and Mark and Grace and keep the next steps moving, so that we can look at options. And I know Mark has quite a few samples, and that will be actually really helpful to understand what they're looking at.
Where are you located,
Yeah.
Mark? Where's your office?
We're out of East Long Meadow, Mass.
Oh, okay.
But so I at one point in time owned a print shop on Celestine and Rocky Hill, so very familiar with your area. I just happened to merge with a PIP printing up in East Long Meadow about 8 years ago. So
Okay.
we're based out of there. Everything is manufactured there in East Long Meadow, and all our installers are based out of there as well. So
Okay, great.
I'm familiar with the neighborhood.
Okay, good. All right, so Ron, maybe you can trade contact information with Heather. That way they can start having those conversations.
Will do.
Thanks. All right, thank you both for joining us today and answering our questions.
More than welcome, and as we get a little bit closer, I'll make myself available if you need to, have a face-to-face and see and touch some of these samples. We can make that happen as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks,
joining.
Mark. Thanks,
Thank
Grace.
you, Grace. Appreciate it. Thank you both.
All right.
Take care
You
now.
have a good night.
Too, thank you. All right, so let's move on to back to our normal programming. Communications subcommittee.
Hello, we're just preparing our February newsletter, so it'll go out by the end of this week or early next week.
Yeah. Heather, anything for design?
We will be taking on developing school signage.
Excellent. All right. Perkins.
Good evening, everyone. Jack, do you want to give me permission to share?
You're all set.
Okay. You should be able to see my screen now. Oh,
Yep.
are you seeing the full presentation or the PowerPoint one? full screen or
The clean
full screen.
presentation. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
excellent? All right, so we're going to switch the order then from what you've been seeing over the last few meetings. So we'll do a quick field report, PV system update. We have Vaney from CES here for any technical questions. It's a lot of stuff that we've already shown already to date. Then we'll have a FF&E and tech update, and then a FF&E procurement update. So field report, Alex has been out to the site last on the 24th, and he'll be going out on Friday. Would have been tomorrow, but because of the weather, we're going to push to the 7th. Consultants have been making site visits as needed, and we are continuing to get through submittals, sent in a ton over the last week and answer RFIs. And just some field photos from Alex's last visit. So this is a shot of the rear of the school showing the B wing here, the world language classrooms here, the end of Main Street, and you get the cafeteria here. So it's a pretty good shot showing you all the different massing that's going on in the building with all the brick and windows in. This is a shot of the main entry of the Board of Ed and a shot of Main Street entrance to the courtyard here. Classroom accent walls are in, ceiling grids in. It's going to be a nice space. Alex, I guess, was there kind of late and got to see the sunset from up here. So some good views from up there as well. This is a shot of Main Street with the brick going in. That was part of the alternate that was accepted. Looks really good. And then a shot of the gym, which is also going to be a great space once it's finished. PV system. Rosanna, I don't know if you have any updates to this before I kind of go through this again.
Yeah, so just to remind everyone what's going on with the PV. Long story short, bond council for the town has deemed the PV to be outside the scope of the project. We can discuss for hours why we don't agree with it, but it is what it is. So let's not waste our breath. The only way to move forward is through referendum. So the mayor, James, at the next meeting is going to call for a referendum. You need 15 days notification for a referendum. So if the next town council meeting is the 12th, then the referendum would probably be the 28th, 27th, 28th, somewhere around there. It'll be in the town hall. It'll be one of those either paper ballots or raise your hand type of votes. Nothing like we had with our other ones. The town's managing all of that. They're gonna organize, deal, and all that. We do need to provide the town manager and town engineer information, which Joe, you pulled all that together. So I don't know, Jack, or whoever is going to actually deliver that to town engineer. His concern is purchasing the panels outright versus paying for power. So we have numbers that we've pulled, or no, our friends pulled numbers together for us on estimates on cost savings based off of usage and blended rates. They questioned the blended rates. They thought they were too high. So maybe, I don't know, Joe, one of the things we want to talk about tonight is, where the blended rates came from. Remind us how we got to those numbers. The usage is the usage. That's just an analysis based on the size of the school and power and all that. So I guess other buildings in town, their blended rates are like half of what we're predicting the schools to be. So I don't know if those buildings have purchased panels or if they are paying for power. as you know, if you pay for power, that rate could go up. It's not always guaranteed a flat rate. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But these days, because there's such fierce competition, those rates are, in my experience, no different than what you'd pay for straight up Eversource power. So by outright buying the panels, I believe that you're because we're getting the reimbursement from the state for the cost of the panels, plus we're getting the Eversource rebate. I feel like could not be cheaper than that to pay for power plan. But that is the question that they're asking. It's a question that we need to answer.
Rosanna, if I could comment, we're working with 2 other clients on who are considering PV systems. One as a standalone PV project, the other is PV as a component of the school. Right from the original construction. Even if the blended rate was off by 100%, and the actual blended rate was half of what we've used in the calculation to show a 4-year payback, your worst case would be an 8-year payback. With a power purchase agreement, yes, in theory, you are paying a lower per kilowatt hour price. And as you said, with the competitive market for power, it might end up being essentially the same thing you're going to pay through Eversource. You don't end up with free juice until after the end of your typically 20-year power purchase agreement. At that point, the installing entity has made their money back on the system, and they basically turn the PV panels and infrastructure over to you, and you own it outright after the end of the 20-year period. So you would be getting free juice after 20 years versus, at worst case here, free electricity after an 8-year payback due to the leverage of the grant funding. And I can't see why the town would hesitate to be able to enjoy, even if we know that the warranty on the panels typically states that after 20 years, you'll have something in the mid 90% range worth of efficiency compared to day one. So yes, things do age as they go on, and at some point your inverters need to be replaced before the panels wear out. But even taking that into account of a 20-year power purchase agreement, there's an incremental cost figured in the contract to replace your inverters. So again, to be able to own them outright, and after 4 to 8 years, even if you listed it as a range like that, to enjoy free power from this system that functionally has a greater than 20-year life, I think is a tremendous opportunity for the town. It's being looked at in that perspective by our other 2 clients that are active in the PV exploration phase right now. And happy to advocate, to the town council or whomever else on the logic of picking that path. Happy to work with you on that.
I agree with you, Jack, 100%. Thank you for laying all that out.
I think common sense would tell you that buying them outright is going to be cheaper. They just want to see the numbers. I don't know if we have numbers to show that would show, like, well, if you paid at X rate, even if it's half of the blended rate that we have in our analysis for 20 years, like, what does that come out to? I don't know. That's what they're looking for, right? They want to know a comparison.
And with Vaney here, Vaney, were you involved in the calculation of the payback and the projection of what rates might look like?
Yes, I was involved in the calculation. Those numbers were shared in between us and Perkins. I don't know if that made its way to us, the group here, but essentially, the blended rate that we came up with is essentially just a simple calculation of what was total billed divided what was actually purchased, not necessarily what was used off the building, because what we obtained was historical data from the school that already has a solar system in it. Our goal was to try to see what a blended rate is. And then again, this is just values that we're using for an estimate, right? We're not doing anything precise saying this is exactly what it's going to be costing, right? We're just trying to get an idea of the value here of the system. But essentially, we took one of the numbers, which essentially for us the highest, which could essentially be one of the best usable value that we could use, right? So we grabbed that value, we divided by we came up with the total build amount divided by the actual energy that was purchased at the time, and came up with a blended rate. Now, then we used in our calculations an escalation factor, which is pretty typical of approximately 2.5%, as we see throughout the years. Yep, that's the chart that we came up with. So essentially, we broke it down as follows. So we have a breakdown of number of years. The next column just shows the kWh produced. That's an estimate of the system size using one of our calculators that tells us what an estimate over a period of a year will come up to. That's the blended rate essentially at 0.3860. And then at year number 1, you get no escalation factor because that's basically your starting point. And so essentially, just by doing the math between the blended rate and the expected kWh produced, you come up with a savings per year of 186,245 approximately. And then essentially you do that every year, changing the blended rate by the escalation factor, and you come up with a savings per year that essentially increases and accumulates. And based on that, once we compare that value overall at an X year compared to the cost estimate, I mean, that's what we're trying to target, right? Once we get to that value, which basically says that, the system is basically at that point paid off. And then any production from the system after that is essentially money that's saved, right?
Yeah, and I just did a quick calculation. If you assume like 0.3 for 20 years, right now, no increase, no escalation, multiply that by the 482 kilowatts, you get to $2.9 million in power costs. So it doesn't make any sense, right? If I did my math right.
Sorry, what was that, Rosanna?
If you took the 482,000 kilowatts, multiplied it by a rate of 0.3,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
multiply that by 20 years that you'd have it for, you'd end up paying $2.9 million.
Or you'd be
generating that much.
You'd be avoiding 2.9 million in cost.
Correct.
Right. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying like if we're generating that much current or that much power, right? If we're paying for power instead of having it built in, if we're paying for that 482,000 kilowatts, if you're paying for 482,000 kilowatts because you're paying for power, and if you're paying it at a rate of 0.3, after 20 years, it will cost you 2.9 million, right?
If you don't put the system in. Because the building is projected to use 100,000 to 825,000 kilowatt hours per year.
But some of that's direct current. Some of those are from the panels.
So this is the total usage projected, and then the system is projected to produce 482,000 per year. So it's about 58 to 61% of the total building usage.
Right. What I'm saying is, if you're not paying for the panels up front and you're paying for the
You're trying to do a lease, right? You're trying to look at what
a lease.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think your math is right, Roseanne, except I think the lease rate maybe you would estimate maybe 10 cent per kilowatt hour savings. So your numbers.
I don't know what's the rate per kilowatt, I guess is the question that you'd have to pay if you were to I think that's what John's asking for. What would, if you didn't buy them out and you were to lease them, what would be the rate? How does that compare to the $1.5 million that the system costs us? Which doesn't really cost us 1.5 to get the reimbursement. You don't get reimbursement off of a lease. You only get reimbursement off the actual buyout.
Right. And I think, Rosanna, if I'm understanding you correctly, there's really like 3 price tags.
Mhm.
There's the one price tag. If I have no solar at all in 20 years, my electric bill is going to be X. If I have a power purchase agreement, I'm not paying for the delivery of the juice, just a generation cost, to the PPA entity.
Right.
So I would pay something less.
Right.
If I own the panels,
You're paying for the panels.
I'm not paying for that. I'm just paying the bill over a reduced period of time because the state is paying a good chunk of it up front. So
Right.
it really is three different bottom line calculations.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, even if you said it was like 0.15, if that was your rate that you'd have to pay for a purchase agreement plan, you're still at 1.5 million. That's still more than the reimbursed value that the town would be afford to buy them out straight up.
Right, because as is shown here, we're the town's portion of the bill is under $800,000.
Right. So
The
anyways,
existing TVs that the school has now, are they owned or are they leased
I don't know.
on any of the schools? Do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we say the middle school one currently came via a grant? So that made me think it was a purchase.
Yeah. I don't think WIS has panels, right?
Not that I know of.
Claudio was adamant too that, like you buy the panels, it makes
Yeah.
the most financial sense, especially with this reimbursement rate. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think John just wants to weigh his options. I'm sure he understands that.
And I think we're just gonna have to go to the town council next week, and I can go and just present this data and just make sure the town council feels comfortable in the option and not, not have them second guessing themselves based off of potential misinformation.
Yeah.
I mean, John's questions are valid, right? The town engineer.
Oh, these were Harriman's questions? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
Tony
no,
had the
they're-
question. I didn't realize John Harriman had the same question
No,
too.
he had really good questions. I think it's just a matter of laying the numbers out for him. If we had, I don't know if we could get what a rate would be if we leased it instead of purchased them. Do we know what the going rate is
Yeah, I
right
think
now?
we have to hopefully someone can provide us a rate. I mean, I know personally when I went look for solars, they were talking like 19, 20 cents an hour.
It was 23 when I went last. Look at it.
Okay. That's why I was saying like the what you're gonna see versus what like the current Eversource rate is at I mean, I was trying to be generous, say like a 10 cent per kilowatt hour savings.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Renee or anybody else can.
Is that something CES can provide, like what the rate is, or?
We can probably provide an estimate. Generally, those rates vary, and they are essentially most times negotiated between the provider of the PPA. So it's difficult for us to provide data that we feel strongly about backing up. I think the numbers that you just mentioned probably are a good baseline, but then again, it's a PPA agreements is something that we really don't handle per se, right?
Yeah.
So, and those values are strictly based on, it vary by company and based on
Right.
what offers they have in negotiation that happens at the time.
Yeah. I think if we just said like 20 cents, I think that's on the low side. And at least gives us something to talk to, right? Just gives you a rough calculation to just do comparisons. Okay. Anyone have any other questions on PV stuff?
Just a quick one since CES is here. The slide before, Joe. When you say the system size is 399, is that like is that the DC generation
It's the
size?
DC, yes, correct.
All right, sweet. So Rosanna, you as far as the timing, then if the town council votes to set up the referendum. I guess they have to put notice in the paper, and it's probably 14 days from the notice, but hopefully they can get the notice out by the next day or two into whatever facilities they need to make it noticed. So if it's the end of February for the referendum, is that, just looking at the timeline, I guess Joe's gonna show that next with the where we're
Yeah,
at with
like
the
if
timeline.
if we go if assume referendum's like the first week in March,
Mhm.
because we can't go to the state. We can't go to the state until we get through referendum, right? That would not be smart.
That's correct. You would want to have the referendum behind you. And
Yeah.
also, we still have to go through that Eversource verification process. Perkins is still waiting for some information from the town in order to be able to put that package in front of Eversource. They need to make their comments and any adjustments to the design before we can go to the state for plan review and approval to bid. So if we're holding for the referendum, there's still a process in front of us.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it made sense to just have town council, vote to approve, whatever work that can be done to get that application submitted to Eversource, because I feel like that's a long pole in the tent. And if it's just something that we're waiting on from the town, that it's not even like an expenditure from one of our vendors, like this is just, I don't know, someone
We don't
responding to
have.
questions. So, it's not billable work.
We were told to stop. So
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah, I
can
think
ask for the next town council
they were
meeting
told to
if we
stop,
can.
but stop means like, let's not spend any more money on this, and because it's not something we're authorized to do. But if it's just a matter of like answering a question, I think, I can certainly reiterate that to James when I talked about trying to put inside a temporary budget to keep the wheels going. He was comfortable, like, kind of having done that. It may not be worth the trouble if we can actually get the referendum on March 1st, but if it's just trying to save time, because the install, Joe, if like we're really installing this stuff in September and October, is that really practical? Guess you can do it while the school year's ongoing.
Yeah, I think that would be a question more for Chris, or maybe Vaney can answer if it's too late in the year to start installing PV. I would think we'd be good until it starts snowing. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean from the weather standpoint. I guess I meant from like the active school
Disruption.
population. Yeah,
Disrupting
disruption
school.
too.
I had a project where PVs were installed on a library in February. There was no complaints about noise, and that's a quiet building.
I would agree with that as well. I think it could still be doable. There's no roof penetrations. There's, essentially just loading equipment and setting it in place.
We just have to coordinate, just like you're doing now, with the parent and bus pickup and drop off, to make sure there's no construction activity that would disrupt that.
Yeah, I don't see it as an issue either. I believe we can do it either way.
Okay. Like I said, there's nothing we can do until we get through to town council and referendum. So hold tight. We can ask the town council if they'll let us proceed at risk. But every time we ask that question, they give us a hard no. So we can ask, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, the risk of them providing us with the information that would be necessary to let Eversource do their work, which isn't costing us anything but time, would seem to be a pretty good compromise. Just give us the answers that we need. Let them initiate their process. Meanwhile, the project team is standing pat until Eversource gives their evaluation anyway.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. There are no project dollars to be spent
I know.
until after Eversource responds.
It's how can I say this nicely? I can't.
The fear factor is, I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, thank you. They're not gonna. I mean, they've had it in their queue for weeks now, and they could have, but they haven't. And we've asked, and they still haven't. So
So what's your next slide, Joe?
I don't know. Let's see. Furniture. So, Vaney, we're all set. Thank you for joining, and we'll let you know when the PV systems starts moving forward again.
it will. It will move forward again. Just a matter of when.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Oh, thanks for that.
Okay, so a lot of information with furniture and technology. Maybe I'll start with technology and wrap that part up first. We have received approval again for the network switches for product and integrator for the wireless access points, the phone interactive displays. We've received approval for sole source for product only, meaning we'd have to go out to bid for the integrator. And the server and firewall sole source, which is also for product and integrator, is still pending review based on the revised specification, which I think we issued in December, maybe. So with that being said, we had a conversation with Steve from the director of the IT department, about the integrator going out to bid. Obviously, his preference would be to have the integrator be sole source for reasons that are for tying in systems with existing systems and knowing the district and things like that have been presented to the state. So in order for that installation to be eligible for reimbursement for the wireless access points, phones, and interactive displays, they have to go out to bid. The committee has the option to not put those out to bid. The installation would then become ineligible for reimbursement. So I have some numbers here for your consideration as to what that would cost. So for the wireless access points, the phones, and the server and firewall, which are the kind of mission critical systems that the IT department would want to see be sole source integrator, that value for install would be $41,000. If you went sole source on those and made that value ineligible, it would be about a $20,000 that wouldn't be reimbursed to the project. The one that's the most expensive and probably the least critical to get the sole source integrator is the interactive monitors, the TE05. That install cost is $132,000, which means if you went sole source on an integrator, then it hasn't been approved, it would be a $64,000 amount that's not eligible. So just wanted to present that to you for consideration. We're still waiting to hear back from the state on the server and firewall. And once that occurs, we'll be able to finalize the PCR and get the approval letters to put the technology package on the street for bidding, and the sole source one for the network switches, and anything that's on state contract. Any questions on all that? I know it's a lot to take in.
Just a one quick question. So our alternative is to go out to bid and then potentially have a different system than what the district already uses?
No, so the products have all been approved for sole source. So you'll get the district will get the products that they want and use. And in
Okay.
case of the phone, that they will be switching over to in the coming years for all of the schools.
Mhm.
So it's the only one that got approved for the installer to be sole sourced was the network switches. And like I said, the wireless access phones and interactive displays, product only. So you'll be getting the product that the IT department wants. It's just who's installing it. And we'll have to review and maybe tighten up the spec a little bit to make sure that the certifications for the installers will meet the district's requirements if it does go out to bid. And if it's not chosen to be sole source anyway.
Okay. And then the district requested specific installers because of like who they work with.
In some cases, it's who they currently work with. In other cases, it's I think it's who they will be working with when they switch over to the new system. The state, and Emily's had the conversations with them directly. I don't know if you want to chime in here. Is really moving away from giving sole source approval for integrators for most products.
Yeah, I had a meeting last week, Thursday, on another project with the sole source reviewer, and he advised that the thinking of management is, you know, you're more the product, it's understandable why you would like it to be sole source, but there are plenty of products that anyone can install. And unless a district has strong supporting documentation that an integrator is that one, that is a selected one. For example, a long-standing contract, a service contract that benefits the entire district, that if you bring someone new, it will not be beneficial and it will impact everybody else. In this case, between TE2, TE3, TE5, there really isn't that. And that's the difference between the network switches being approved for the integrator. That integrator really having them not be part of that process is harmful to the district. So they approved the integrator in that instance. They said, okay, well, if we bring somebody new, that's going to cause an impact across district wide, and that can't happen. Unfortunately, for the rest of these products, there's not enough substance in there to say yes, it will be harmful. So
server and firewall is still pending. Potentially,
yeah, the server and firewall is still pending. We have not heard back, but based on the discussion that I had with them on Thursday, I was discussing with Joe that it more likely will be product only.
Right.
If we put them all out to bid, it is a 50-50 chance that you will get the company that you would like, because it's a bidding process, but you will never know.
And then is this setting the district up to needing, like, is this a one-time installation relationship, or is this setting them up for then needing to go back to this particular installer for repairs or whatever?
If you go out to bid and you get a different installer than what the district continuously works with or is looking to work with in the future, yes, I believe there is no vendor that will touch someone else's system, because you'll have to call the one that installed it for any service.
Well, that's just for the warranty period though, right? Not for the life of the building.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I believe that's the case too. I could confirm that with D'Agostino if they know for sure. But I believe that would be the case, that the products would be warranted by the installer. But the service agreement might still be with a separate vendor, but maybe not during that warranty period.
My first thought on this was, I understand the warranty period, but then after that, if we go back to the other integrator, if there's a problem and they feel that there's rework that needs to be done, it could end up costing us on the back end. Like if it's not done in a way that they would have done it and they want to do something just different because the rest of the district does something different. Is there
Yeah,
a risk for that?
I think that the district would be at a risk of additional pricing. Because, you know, not every vendor works the same way, and not every installer does things the same way. And I think
Right.
that's why probably the district wanted to get sole source approval for an integrator as well. Unfortunately, I understand the state side, the sole source for a supplier or someone, it really is we have a written contract, service contract, so that's a good support. Most of these don't, and they've just going with product only. That's basically what it's coming down to for most districts, more not just Cromwell, for the majority of the districts, that's their review now. You'll get sole source for the product if you provide enough documentation, but having a sole source integrator is very difficult right now.
Yeah, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that we're thinking long term and not
Right.
doing something to get the reimbursement and risk going out to bid, and then in the long run, it ends up costing the district in the long run anyway. And we could have just avoided it all by paying sole source, you know, doing it sole source and absorbing the cost in the project while there is contingency money and not squeezing the district 2 years from now.
And that's why with Joe, we worked out today, the figures that he has provided so that you all are aware. You know, that's why he broke it out, the critical items. This is the ineligibility. And of course, the interactive displays and the sound systems is the biggest part of that cost. But we wanted to make sure that you have all the information prior to making a decision.
So what was the total value to just the sole source, the integrator?
For all or for the critical? For all, it would be about 180,000 approximately. So it would be about 90 that would be non-reimbursable, or ineligible for reimbursement. For the critical ones, Steve had indicated the server and firewall would be the primary number one priority, which would be about 4,200 of install. Then the wireless access points at 18, and then the phone system at 9. So that would be his priority order. But those three would be his top three.
Okay, thanks.
And those three totaled was 41,000 per install, plus or minus.
All of it, either way, comes out of our FF&E, right?
The technology budget.
Yes.
The technology budget, right?
You already
And-
have it figured in your estimate. It's just that we've provided to you as eligible amounts.
So if we sole source the integrator, would we be over budget on our FF&E?
No,
No,
No. Okay.
you just wouldn't
we
receive
just
the
move it to the right.
reimbursement.
Yeah, we just would say, if previously would have showed you one figure for ineligible, if you were to say to us tonight, we'll accept the product as eligible and we will give the critical items as ineligible because we'll go with that installer, Joe would just shift the cost over to the ineligible side. But it's already all figured into the estimates that Joe provided originally.
Okay.
So is this something we need to vote on then?
We would like your a vote to say, because if we were to get the final on the server product only, let's say on Monday, if we have your authorization to just take the product for the critical items and go ahead and ineligible for the integrator, as soon as we have that letter, we can proceed with purchasing the product and be getting on the schedule for the installers to have everything be done on time.
Is this something we should have Claudio voting on? I know he's not here tonight.
We brought it up at the change order committee last Thursday. Joe actually, we discussed with Claudio, and Claudio asked Joe to talk to Stephen, which is why Joe went back and said, give me the priority of how we can approach this.
Right.
Okay, what was their perspective?
Whose perspective?
Stevens?
Sorry.
So
I think
Stephen or Claudia, I mean, they're going to be living with this.
Claudio deferred to Stephen, and Stephen expressed that he would like the integrator that he intends to be using to be the integrator for this installation. So if we focus on just the critical systems and allow the, installer integrator for the displays to be whoever we get, focus on the critical systems, the net reimbursement loss is 20 grand. And that, that decision tonight will help expedite getting everything out the door once we get that final approval from the state.
Seems like focusing on the critical systems is a pretty good compromise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
It sounded like
I would take the opportunity if I were Steve to go back to a vendor like this and say, can you work on your numbers for us because we're considering going sole source. I've done that before, and if they don't have the bother to bid something like that and they know they're going to get the contract, they may shave 2, 3, 4, 5% off the total bill. Doesn't hurt to ask.
Joe, can you see if you can work with Stephen on that? If the recommendation is to go sole source with the critical items?
Yes. Yeah.
So do we have consensus on that so that we know how to revise the documents?
Do we need to vote, Jack,
I
or
don't,
do you just
I
need us
don't,
to
I don't
nod our
know that,
heads?
I don't know that we need a formal vote, but a consensus that you're willing to take $20,000 less in reimbursement to be able to expedite these with the trusted partner.
I'm okay with it. Is anyone not okay with it?
I don't have any objections. I like to see him go back to the vendor and see if he can shave a few cents off of it, but.
Anyone else? Strong
I have
opinion?
no objection.
I neither do I.
All right. I think we're good, Jack.
All right, Joe.
All right, back to furniture. So a lot been going on with that. So the bids have been awarded for the first round of bids. State contract quotes have been awarded. We did have one issue. So Wenger, which does the music instrument storage and music supply things, is not able to provide pricing direct to owners from the state contract. They have to provide their pricing to a vendor. So even though they provided us quotes, we were unable to use that quote. And we had to go to the next highest quote, which was Insalco, who has been awarded other parts of the package. The increase for that shift was 22,345.72. I'll show you on the next slide that it still is well within budget to make that shift.
Wait, I'm confused. I'm confused. So
Yeah.
we had a supplier who gave a quote, and then they
Yes.
said you can't use the quote because
They have to provide their quotes to vendors only. They are not able to provide them to direct to owners, or they don't provide them direct to owners.
so you are considered an owner, not a vendor?
No,
Yeah,
Joe,
we're
if I may
representing the owner.
If I may interject,
Yeah.
Wenger sent both Perkins and myself, I was copying the email, and a notification that about the quote that had been issued, which listed a state contract number. This representative, when looking into that, provided a reply back that the way that their contract with the state of Connecticut is written is that they can only provide a quote through an authorized dealer. In this case, an Insalco, Mason, Robert Lord, he named like 5 companies that were only authorized for them to provide a quote through in order to issue products to a town or a city, which is something that Joe and I have been discussing, because when Helen from Perkins inquired about a quote to Wenger directly, they didn't have an issue and they didn't bring any of this up. It's just something that this new representative has come up as we had let him know that the PO would be cut for that amount and for those items. Therefore, we found ourselves to seek Insalco, which had provided prices. They were the second lowest bidder on these items. And we asked if they were going to hold the prices because there was a price change in January 1st, but they said that it did not affect those items and the prices that they had provided originally would remain for now.
I'm confused because it's an increase
Yeah, we
of
have to give
22.
Yeah. It's
So Insalco is basically adding their own costs on top of what Winger would have.
Yes, exactly.
$22,000 worth.
So Insalco's a dealer?
Insalco is an authorized dealer. Yes. Insalco, Robert Lord, Red Thread, Mason. Yep, these are all authorized.
So why did Wenger give us a quote then if they knew they couldn't follow through on it? I don't understand that.
That's the billion-dollar
the-
question that even
yeah.
Helen from Perkins has been asking because she's the one that, sought them and provided the state contract. And this rep just gave us the information and we said,
Could
okay.
we be dealing with a rep who doesn't know what they're talking about?
I could have been, to tell the truth, yes.
I mean, is it the same person who provided the quote or a separate person?
No.
It's not the same person?
Nope, not the same person. This is like a district or like a statewide.
So I'm wondering if they don't know what they're talking about. It seems really bizarre to me that one person give you a quote and that person's like,
yeah, we were surprised as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the order of magnitude value of the Wenger package?
It was 92,000, right, Joe? 92.
Hold on, let me do some quick math.
That's, is it $1 or $1 million?
It was about 92,000 was about
the purchase that we had the award that had been recommended was about 92,000 and now we're around 113.
It's about a 25% upcharge.
Wow.
And
what kind of products are these for?
Are they the music instrument storage systems?
Chairs.
It's all the music. No, it's all the music storage systems.
Isn't Salco the only company we looked at, or did you look at the other ones? The other dealers.
They actually they request pricing from various different people, and Salco provided the second lowest, like I said, pricings.
What was the lowest?
But Wenger was the lowest.
Oh, Wenger themselves.
Were the other bids that came in for that close to Insalco and Wenger was just really low? Or
so these are state contract quotes that we solicited. These aren't bid prices. So we had a split between furniture items that were bid that were off a state contract, and then a few items that were direct purchase. So the state contract, we went out to a couple of vendors, one of them being Wenger, who's the manufacturer, and then Insalco, and I don't know if we went to a third or not on this one, to get pricing on it.
Why would the state force someone to go through a vendor? I don't understand that.
I don't think it's the state forcing somebody. I think it's a matter of
the contract with the state.
Wenger's direct contract is with the state, and they're making it available to the towns. But apparently, it's not really available direct to the towns. It's through a vendor. So maybe the state can benefit from direct pricing, and the rest of us have to go through vendors.
Something's just not adding up right. It
So
doesn't make sense to me.
If that's the case, Emily, are we better off putting that out to bid, or just relying on Insalco's quote?
So we don't know what product we're getting with Insalco, right?
You're getting
we're getting Wenger.
We're getting
we are getting
which is the basis of design, yes. And it's a very high quality product for music.
Yeah, they're a good product. Yeah, so it's just going through Insalco.
Correct.
So it says 22,000 is a markup from Insalco.
Basically, yes.
Basically, yeah. Which we were saving by going directly through the manufacturer until we were advised that we couldn't.
Wanger's a good product.
It is. It's a very good product.
We're just paying for the middleman now.
So
Yeah, that's a big markup.
yeah, that hurts my head
I
a
mean,
lot.
10 or 15%,
25%.
I get, but not 25.
Something's not adding up right. Something doesn't make sense, this whole thing.
Yeah, the gentleman that emailed our team is the Northeast Regional Sales Manager for Wenger Corporation.
Apple.
And I advised them of the quote. I gave him the quote that was provided for these items, and he said, per the terms of the state contract, we cannot accept a PO directly. It has to go through one of the authorized dealers below. Insalco, Mason, Red Thread, Robert Lord, or Monitor Equipment.
So basically, if Wanger wasn't in there, Insalco's number would have looked really good.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Encelco's using Wenger products.
Yes.
Correct.
Is
Yeah, you'll be
anybody
getting
pulled?
And
What's-
this entire list went out also when we provided when we did the original bid that was due in December 12, 2024. And we did not receive pricing from Suburban or Mason. We received some pricing for some items from School Specialty, and of course Insalco, which did the majority, that did the exact same. They did all the pricing on the Wenger items. So essentially, we can even it did cover, but we did not get enough, I guess, response from the other ones, you could say.
So would this award to Insalco then be in response to a public bid, or is this still being considered a state contract
A
purchase?
state contract.
State
They
contract.
provided state contract pricing. That's exactly what they listed in everywhere. It's just that since it was part of the entire bid package, majority just said, well, we're going to provide you with the state contract number and pricings in case you want to consider us for the state contract breakdown. We did. They were considered.
Okay, well,
You can go out to bid if you would like to again do a third bid. But I don't know what the lead time is for any of these items. So
Yeah, and I don't know that either.
yeah.
Has anybody looked at the actual state contract to see what the verbiage is? Because certain state contracts will be for state agencies only. Some state contracts are specific, like Department of Public Works, and other contracts that'll include verbiage to say all political subdivisions.
This is a state contract that is also being used by Suburban for other items. So this is a political subdivision. That's something that the town can use.
Can they
Just-
give us a copy of this contract so you can see what they're looking at?
You can pull them up online,
Yeah, you can pull them up online.
but it just doesn't make sense that unless you actually see it in the contract, that's the first I've ever heard of something like that they can't, if they have a state contract price and it says it's for political subdivisions, unless there's verbiage within that contract that says, no, we got to go through a third party. Maybe it's specified, maybe it isn't, but if it isn't specified, I think we ought to hold them to their obligation. Rather than just take the word of one guy at Wagner that's saying that's the case. I mean, we're
Talk to
talking
the Wagner supervisor.
if it was, if it was 5% or something like that, all right, you eat it. But I mean, $20,000 on a $90,000 award. Anyways, real sour taste in my mouth over it.
All right, we can.
Yeah, is there
double
someone
check
else
through-
to talk to at Wenger just to double check?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to their boss. Otherwise, it's like, this feels like Wenger has an issue with the state. And,
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't pulled Wenger's direct section of the state contract. They provided the service provided the dealers that they can only go through. That could be their items could be that way. We were just told that they cannot accept the purchase order from the town of Cromwell. So basically they voided their quote, which they can. I mean, if we go out to publicly bid, I'm pretty sure they can bid through there. Then those prices would be open. I mean, if you would like, Perkins can reach out to the other 5 to see what they would say, what their quotes would be, or we can put it out to bid.
I'm looking at the contract, I think. I'm not sure if we're ready to make a decision right now. I mean, I'm not. There's a whole list of companies that are part of this contract.
Right. You have to you have to search the Wenger section in order to know what their contract specifies. There is like a breakdown of, I think it's like maybe their Exhibit B or Exhibit C, where they provide their price summaries. And then they list out the vendors that they provide to and the items that they provide to specifically.
Okay, so more homework to be done. Do we have, Emily, do I need to call up any of those things that were part of the document package for the next things on this list?
No, because it's just a list of, it's just the summaries of where that would support Perkins's numbers on the next couple of slides for the committee to see, to be aware of.
Right, so just moving on from this portion here, bid 2 was received and leveled, and we have a recommendation to award it. And then additional classroom furniture, which is review state contract pricing that we've received. This was through Suburban. So I'm actually going to go over that portion first. So this is the classroom furniture and bookcases that we were asked to provide. So it was 30, just to recap, 39 classrooms, 1 table each. That's the kidney-shaped table. 156 student chairs, which are the same ones that are already part of the project. We got a clarification on the teacher chair, which will be now, instead of another desk chair, it'll be a similar to the student chair, but at a 19-inch high versus an 18-inch high, and it won't have the book shelf here. The bookcases was 2 per science room, 5 each for the standard classrooms, 10 classrooms with 2 each, and then another 24 for office spaces. The office ones are 36 by 66 high, and the classroom ones are 36 by 30 high. So this is the breakdown of the pricings, the quantities that were listed up here, the unit costs for state contract, and then the extended cost for these items. So it would come to $112,911.30.
What manufacturer did they end up going with that furniture?
I think the bookcases were AIS. The student chairs, I'd have to look that up. I don't recall what the manufacturer was, but they are the same ones that are already in the project that have been approved previously. And the kidney-shaped table, we currently had 1 previously in the project. So that would be the same kidney-shaped table that was already in the project and approved. I don't recall the manufacturers for those.
I don't remember talking about the bookcases for the office. When did that come up?
That was in our presentation last time. I don't know if I highlighted it though, but yeah, it was 12 offices, 2 each.
Is this for central office or the admins?
I'm not sure. This was the list we provided. I didn't ask which offices they would be going into.
I believe it's the school offices, not central admin. Because there were no,
That's correct, yeah.
There
Thank
were
you.
no shelves in their original ask, I guess, and so they were asking for some.
Okay.
So Emily, we'd be looking, is this, I don't know if this is part of your part or part of this part, we're recommending to.
Yeah, the
um,
motion is part of our slides to.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this was the information part, and then the motion will be part of Arcadis's presentation. So then here's the full breakdown for the middle school. So we have our current FF&A bids at 410,287.57. Oh, I have to adjust that number. Missed that one. If the PO increase in Salpo was included, which would be the 22 we saw on the previous slide, it'd be a total state contract award of 439,791.69. Direct purchases of 18,078.59. This is to be procured at a later date to handle the delivery. And this price would potentially change a little bit. Total procurement to date was 868, 157.85. The bid 2 recommendation is 68,223.80. This would be split between suburban and creative office resources. Bring the subtotal to 936. The additional classroom furniture at 112,911 would bring the total subtotal for the middle school to just over 1,049,000, leaving a delta to the budget of 150,000 under budget. And that's including the increase that's in Salco. Oops. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on to the central admin office. So state contract value was 58,590. We had a couple of direct purchases at $855.99. The bid 2 recommendation for that would go to suburban, $18,160.96, bringing the total procurement to $77,607.14, which would be $2,217 over the budget of $75,390.
Okay.
Any questions there?
Nope.
Okay. Here's our schedule. We are looking for building committee approval of the furniture bids number 2 and the state contract for the additional classroom furniture and bookcases. So looking for delivery again starting in May. That would be for the admin offices and the central admin building, with the remainder being delivered over the course of the summer.
Can we approve all the bids except for that Wenger one? Do you need an actual official approval tonight?
Emily, I think that's going to be part of
The
your
motion will, yeah, the
presentation.
motion will be part of our breakdown. I would like to say that I just reviewed the state of Connecticut contract. It looks like as of 2019, Wenger was only providing through Insalco Corp. So it's on page 35 of the state of Connecticut contract. And then in amendment number 11, it looks like they added 3 more dealers as listed. I can confirm with Suzanne Hawkins, but
Does it say that they can only go through those dealers, or that they wanted as an option to go through dealers?
no, they go through the state of, as of 2019, listed all the manufacturers' names, and then listed all the dealers that they are able to provide pricing through. As you can see it on page 23, page 35 of their contract, of the state of Connecticut contract. And page 35 on the year 2019, DAS said Wenger as a manufacturer, your contractor is Insalco. In 2021, it looks like they added Mason, Monitor Equipment, and Robert Lord. And then in 2024, they added red thread, which is, it remains the same as of through 2025.
And we
I can,
asked all those companies for quotes and Selco came back the lowest of them all.
Mason did not provide any pricing. You've done that already. Monitor equipment, Robert Lord and red thread, those are new. If you would like Perkins to seek pricing for those same items, they can do that if you would like.
Sounds like the prudent thing to do, check all of the available vendors and see who's most competitive.
Just
Okay,
the whole,
I will,
this whole process is frustrating, that's all. I mean, they give you a price and they're like, yeah, no. And then if we didn't go through the state and went to them directly through a quote, we can't do that either, right?
no,
You would
'cause
have
that'd
to
be a
go to
direct
publicly bid.
purchase.
Yeah, you would have, and you would have to go to publicly bid it.
And why don't we do that?
If you would like to do that, we can do that.
Well, we tried and we didn't get a response for those items.
We
No,
tried to do public on those already?
No, these items were always on state, to
Always
be
on
purchased off state contract, yeah.
I mean, 20,000 is not a small amount. It's more like
And now
into
that
the
I
whole
think
thing.
about it, if you shift from state to public bid right now, we would have to go back to the state because our PCR, we did advise them that it's state contract.
Oh, Lord help me.
Yep.
So make 3 or 4 more phone calls and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
I don't know. What's everyone think? I'll take recommendations.
No, yeah, it's certainly frustrating that they provided us this number that they couldn't honor, follow through on. I do think it makes sense to just make those phone calls, get that information before we make a decision.
I would acknowledge it's a mistake and move forward.
I think the risk would be the lead time. We don't know, but the biggest item in this batch is that, it's, what do they call, what's it called, Joe? That
The
library,
high density storage for
yes,
the
that's
music, for basically the papers for the music library.
For the library, like
yes.
like that shelving system.
The
Mhm.
expensive
That's the
shelving
one,
system.
yes. That's that huge one. Honestly, I can't tell you the lead time in any of these products, but I think we were
Yeah, I
aiming.
don't have that information either, unfortunately.
I think we were aiming the majority to be at least a minimum of 12 to 16 weeks.
How long does it take to get bids from those other companies? Or get numbers from the other companies?
I think you're probably looking about a week.
And this, these items are under the state reimbursement, right?
Correct.
Yes.
They're all reimbursable. Yes.
So,
Maybe we get the bids just so that we do our due diligence. 2 weeks. I mean, we could get everything else moving along, right? And just hold off on these music things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do that?
Okay. All right, that completes our presentation. Any other questions?
Nope. Chris,
Yes, how we doing? Joe, not Joe, Jack, you'll bring up the presentation, or Emily?
Yep,
Thank you.
coming up, here it is.
No, it's our presentation, Jack.
Yeah, not that one.
That the Arcadius report one that says 2.5.
Okay, it's throwing me a curveball.
There you go. slide 3 should be the start of the fields.
I can't find my magic button here to make it fit. Here it is.
Yeah, so project update this go around is site utilities and any site work is still on hold for winter conditions right now. We're looking to get them back somewhere around start of March. That's obviously weather dependent and what happens with frost. We do have them on the schedule within the next week or two to start doing some of the conduit work at the south parking lot so that we can get the technology infrastructure in place and get our fiber optics poles in place. Our steel fabrication is mostly in Miss Metals right now, railings, um, grates, stairs, stuff of that nature. It's coming out as we need it. The steel erection, the bus canopy is actually coming on Saturday. So that will be the final portion of the steel erection for the project. Roofing is down to just metal copings and edging. We're working that through. We're trying to get as much of the brick done as possible before we let the roofer go with his edge metal. Unit masonry inside of the building, we've finished almost all of the CMU in the building. Right now they're doing basically any kind of touch-ups, anything of that nature prior to painting. The brick masonry, as you can see, if you've been by the building, we've made it pretty much to just working on the remaining portions of the south elevation and the remaining portions of the east elevation. And then all that's left on the west is the end wall of the A building. And then we're done with brick. So we're getting close. They've actually been taking advantage of the weather, the warmer temperatures and cleaning all that brick right now and making sure that the quality control is there. AVB process is complete. That'll fall off the list for next go around. Exterior carpentry is probably about 98% complete. There's only a couple little sections left that need to be done, and then that will be complete. For interior carpentry, they're all over the place. Framing, soffits, hard ceilings, finishing up walls, doing everything that you could think of under the sun. That also goes along with the drywall and the taping processes. As you can see from the video last go around in the B building, we're pretty much buttoned up, getting to that point. And I just toured the BOE today before I left the job, and they're already primed out on more than half of it and moving right along. I wanted to save the video for next go round because actually we did start the finished floors on the second floor of B2. And by the time I left the job site today, I'd say 75% of the floors were done. They started the tile work in the bathrooms and one of the group lavatories, the entire wet wall has been tiled at this point. And this is just, it's great because millwork on the second floor is going to begin being installed in its final resting place next Monday. And I'm just really excited to show you guys the next video fly through because you're actually going to be able to see what your spaces are going to look like. We're getting ready. We've been going through above ceiling inspections, getting ready to pad out and finalize lighting installs in that B building. That's gonna flow right into and across the corridor into C and the BOE area as well. Your A building is actually coming along. I'd say you're probably about, I'd say a good 60% sheetrocked in A right now. And they're working at a fever pitch over there. As far as metal panels are concerned, on the exterior of the building, in the mechanical well between C and D buildings, I got some good pictures of them from last week, but you'll see that the metal panels are going on and they're laying out and continuing around the gym. Um, they're in full force now. The aluminum windows and storefronts and curtain walls, they're all the way around the corner of the east side of the BOE. They're going to start working on the south elevation with the punched openings, which are just your standard size windows. And then they're going to be working on the larger curtain wall sections within the BOE conference room area and things of that nature. They're wrapping around the building clockwise, doing a great job. Plumbing, mechanical, electrical, once again, they're all over the place. Mostly they're focusing on major wire pulls within the building, panel to panel at this moment. They're doing all their tie-in work for their circuitries in the B building and they're pretty much wrapping up, getting close to wrapping up within the A building so that we can go ahead and that's for in wall rough, I mean, so that we can finish closing up the drywall. And that's also in D area where the band and choral area is as well. Then acoustical ceilings, he's pretty much completed the first and second floor of B. He's going into your media center and robotics and coding area now, world languages. That's where he was today. When he's done with those areas, he's going to go back upstairs into B2, do the hallway, and then drop back down to B1 and continue with that hallway so we can finish up the lighting up there and all of our mechanical drops in those spaces. And I already explained about the finished floors. Just really exciting to see these things start coming together. Slide. Um, oh, I already hit the millwork. Ron, you want to talk to any of this third party stuff here?
Excuse me, SES, the envelope consultant and mechanical's been out. They provided their field reports and Newfield's reviewed those and we're moving on with that. The third party material testing, Tri-State has been out watching both the interior and exterior brick installations and they've had no issues there. And again, like what Chris was saying, the interior work is, every day you can see some, it's huge transformations moving on now. So, and I know you folks have been out about 2 weeks ago to see the building. You wouldn't even recognize the building today. So, but right now, no, I'm good right now.
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to note on the third parties is that CES was also out. That was a couple weeks back. It's nice to see that our contractors they're picking out things like open-ended ductwork in some situations, but there's not really anything else. Those are good hits to have on an engineering report, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with the installs themselves. That's great. We already talked about the easement. I already gave you the update on that. I appreciate all the assistance from everybody as well. You can go with the slide. The 2 week look ahead, it's here for you if you want to take a look at it. Pretty much, we're going to be everywhere at all times here. I actually, in the trades meeting today, noted that we're about four. I'm telling them about 4 months out from having staff in the building, and let's just make it happen. And we have good buy-in right now, and morale is good on the job site, and things are coming together. You can go right through this 2 week. I'll just get into the photos. Top photo is just to show you the gym windows on that north elevation are in and glazed, which is great. We're starting to retain our temporary heat a lot better than we were when we originally started that process. And I'm actually seeing our savings on fuel in my invoices that I'm receiving. We were spending just about $6,000 a week for a while there just in propane, and now we're down into about the 3,000 to 4,000 a week. So we're doing a lot better at what our temporary heating. That's that well. Those are your metal panels in the well right now. That's a really nice look. It's coming out really well, and I want to give kudos to Arcadis and the design team for their schematics, for their color palettes and all that stuff, because when you see the LVT plank floor with those blue colors, and that's in that second floor of B, you're going to be mesmerized. It actually looks really slick. So, Joe already showed you the top photo. I'm showing you another elevation. You can see that all along Main Street there, all of the windows are in and glazed. You can see that your media center there is all in and glazed. Those guys are doing a great job keeping ahead of our schedule here. Is that it? Oh, Joe showed you already. There's some of the ceiling grid in place. That's actually an old photo. Now there's speakers, and the heads are dropped, and everything's starting to come together in the ceilings now. Your generator was set in January. That's all ready to be wired. All your ceiling tiles, millwork, flooring, everything is coming out to the job site now. That's a picture of your hood and your utility distribution system in the kitchen on the left. Looks really good. And I took that photo on the right the other day. That's your finished brick veneer with framing up above, ready to accept drywall on the east elevation of Main Street. They actually just finished washing that today. And I tell you what, they did a great job. You're going to be very happy with how that looks.
Yeah, Chris said the brick does look really good on Main Street.
Oh my God, if they were gonna do A+ work anywhere, they did it for you there. Um, you'll see on the left there, that's a slightly older photo as well. All of your ductwork, all of your above ceiling MEP work for the gym is in place, ready to accept your basketball backstops, your stage, your divider curtain, all that stuff is coming mid-March. It's ready to be installed. That ductwork's all painted. And they actually did a lot of the banding work for around where the wall pads are going to be. You have a nice contrasting color there. And then obviously on the right there is the stage. That actually looks very different today. That's a older photo from in January. You got all your tops of walls are done. On the right hand side, all the way down to those window openings is all all sheetrocked and taped. All of the duct work is done in there, fire suppression. They're starting to work the lighting circuitry and pull in the rough in for electrical in that space now. Um,
Chris, did you ever find out when the ceiling was gonna get started in the auditorium?
yeah, we had to get a couple of the mechanicals done so because we were gonna lose access. And that process is almost done. So I'm thinking definitely prior to the end of February, we're gonna get going on that.
Can't wait to see it.
Your fire suppression, we're doing hydro tests on the system now as well as air tests, which means that we're flowing water to heads and making sure that there's no leaks and getting our NFPA sign-offs ready to start here with the fire marshal sooner than later. That's a great step forward as well. The picture on the right is just showing you that we're starting to terminate the registers, diffusers, and grills and the ceiling grids and in the walls. These are finished products now. So we're getting into that phase where within the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, even myself is going to say, wow, this is radically different now because we're at that point where we're going to start putting putting everything in. Who's laughing? Um, that was just a picture on the left of how they're doing the floor prep and your hollow metal doors are on site now. They're doing all your communications, wire pulls throughout the building and actually your IDF closet is coming along really nicely. The racks within your MDF have been placed and they're starting to land wires in it. Um, we didn't get around to it, but I did meet with Crown Castle out on site for your fiber optics. We're pushing through that process for you with them to make sure that they have everything that they need in place for their interconnectivities, and it's just a beehive of activity. So, are there any questions?
Of course. Chris, back on the generator, remind me, is that just for like critical services, like the refrigerators and stuff?
Yeah, it's for all your emergency systems. Would be for your fire alarm, your,
Okay.
yes, things of that nature, critical items. Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right, Emily, since you're here, we'll let you talk to your slides.
Sorry, I was muted. As you can see, the amount reimbursed to date for progress payments has gone substantially up since the last time we met. We have received through the town $11,267.680. I am looking to file another progress payment request at the end of this month through for expenses through January, as much as I can. We have worked out the revised cash flow projections with Sharon at the town so she can budget for the bond purchases, if any. So that has been done. Central administration, we're still holding off. I'm pretty sure that we should be able to file a request at the end of June. She's fine with that. The town has always known that due to the smaller project budget, it's better if we file once we have a substantial amount of costs. But for now, we're in good standing. The total paid to date through 1/31/25 did not change since the checks are not issued till Thursday. So you'll get an update at the next time we meet. Next slide. Here are where our budget stands as of today. As of back then, is where we stood. Hasn't changed. Next slide. Your owner contingency has changed, as you can see, in the last January meeting. There were a couple of changes that were approved for Perkins easement, which means that we were at 2,093,888.90. once these two changes for Perkins are processed through the town, the owner contingency budget will now be 1,992,157.83, and for central admin, 135,584.01. These owner contingency changes do not take into account the costs that will be presented in the next slides. Next slide. As you can see, for CMS, I've highlighted the two costs that impact the owner contingency. There was the procurement design addition and the abatement monitoring increase. Next slide. Same thing for central admin. There was no impact for procurement, but there was an impact for the abatement oversight. Next slide. Next. The following two items are for record only. In the last couple of weeks, the change order subcommittee, which is comprised of Claudio Bazzano, John Harriman, Ken Jackson, and the Newfield and Arcadis team, reviewed and approved a total of $285,549.59 in change orders. All of these change orders comprise change order number 10 to Newfield. The motion is if the CMSBC affirms the change order committee's approval of the listed change order number 10 to Newfield Construction in the amount of $285,549.59.
That south elevation CMS billing sign for owner's request, what was that? The third one down?
That
Chris,
one,
51. Yep.
that one had to do with changing from the CMS Falcon saying CMS to the halo lit letters and the installation and electrical work for the
Yeah.
offset there.
So the backlit lights or
Yep.
letters. Yeah.
Yep. And actually that we're starting to do coordination for that right now, if you wanted to know.
And that first one, why wasn't that part of the original plan?
It was additional that were not captured on the drawings that we as a team, not only Newfield but the design team as well, felt were in the best interest of the project.
Okay. I think everything else we already talked about. We talked about the media center stuff already. What's bulletin number 5 CMS?
Bolt Joe, can you answer that? I can't remember what bulletin 5 was.
Hold
She
on,
put a
I
bullet.
don't remember off the top of my head either.
Yeah.
Bulletin 5
Oh, you know what
was
that was? You know what that
blocking and
was,
instrument
Joe?
storage, flooring in the
Yes.
keyboard room for
That was epoxy flooring right there.
and the wall shift. So that was for that bulk instrument storage we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Required the epoxy flooring. It could not be installed on the LVT because it would destroy it basically.
Oh, so we changed the flooring around.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. I'm good.
So Emily, this 285 would be then an
That would come off
additional
of the 1.9. So
drag. Okay. Yeah.
So you would be looking with this approval, you'd be looking at an owner contingency of about 1.7 million.
Mhm.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve unless someone has any questions.
So moved.
We'll move.
Second.
There's that. Thank you. All in favor, give me a thumbs up.
Thank you, everyone.
Next slide is to approve change order number 3 to Newfield Construction in the amount of $1,268.88 for central administration.
What was this for?
Bulletin 5, PCO 5?
No, but it was bulletin 5. It had to go along with, it was the portion of what we were doing within the changes. I can't remember exactly what it was.
It was office power revisions due to the furniture layout.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, for a last minute furniture change that drove like putting outlets in different locations type of thing.
Yeah, based on the optimal location of the furniture, we had to shift desks and flip desks, and the power needed to move along with those.
Yeah, and we considered that eligible because it was an extension of circuits. It wasn't a rework of circuits, so that should be an eligible item.
Eligible or ineligible?
Eligible.
Eligible, yes.
All right, anyone have any questions? Otherwise, I'll take a next motion to approve.
So move.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor, give me a thumbs up.
And with this approval, the central admin contingency would decrease to 134,000. Now the items for your approval are as follows. Next. Attached for your approval is PO request to Meyer in the amount of $122,222 to CMS. Central admin, $6,027.55 for a total cost of $128,249.55. Meyer did a walkthrough with our FF&E move person, Tom Beebe, and Claudio Bazzano. Claudio has looked at the entire proposal, which is comprised of the following breakdown: moving services, materials, a storage trailer rental, a shred bin rental, and a contingency of 10%. I
Do we have
will
a
like,
budget for this?
yes, I was gonna get there next. I would like to point out that in CMS, the budget for moving is $80,000. $85,000, I'm sorry. It's $85,000, which means that we are over budget by the amount of $37,222, which would be deducted from the owner contingency. The amount for CAO is $3,000, which means that we are over budget by $3,027.55, which would also be deducted from the owner contingency.
Oh, we got that estimate wrong, huh? Jeez.
So why do they have a 10% contingency in here? This isn't lump sum?
The 10% contingency is recommended by our move management person. And so if something comes up that it's urgently needed, we would just hit that contingency. I have typically done that in other clients. We list a 10% contingency. I think what also drives the price up in here, Ron, are you still here?
Yes,
It's the storage trailer rental.
right. They have storage trailer rentals if we need them. If we don't, then what we don't use, it would just would not be billed against the PO.
Right.
But seeing time is of the essence, when they stop moving, they need it.
This is a do not exceed amount.
It is.
Right.
So any unused supplies, any contingency dollars, those are essentially allowances and returned. And their proposal is based on hourly rates for labor, materials, and equipment. And I believe, correct me, Ron, if I'm wrong, but all of this is a not to exceed. So there could be an opportunity to save.
That's my understanding. Walking with Tom, yes.
Well, I think we just need to be clear that if we're not getting a trailer, for example, they're not going to charge us the cost of the trailer that we never got.
That's correct.
We have worked with Meyer innumerable times before through this state contract. They've been very reliable and very transparent with their billing.
I would like to say though, in working with Meyer, I've done a lot of moves with work for them. The materials, I'm sure that Tom's gonna have a good handle on the materials. That might be a number that might go up depending on what the teachers need. Because they'll tell you what they want and they'll say, I need this, I need that. So, but Claudio did do a walkthrough and he did verify that these were good. And
We only go to one company for quote.
there's only 3 companies in the state of Connecticut contract that we're using, as listed here. And the other 2 companies, one does not do school moves. The other one just does supplies, and Meyer does the entire package for you.
All right. Any questions, anyone?
Rosanna, I've worked with them also on other projects, and Myers by far trumps a lot of the other ones I've used in the past.
Sure does. They're great to work with.
Well, it sounds like they're the only ones who can actually do the work. So I don't know who else would use.
We did put it a couple of years back, like about 12 years ago. We did put it out to bid in another client, and the response was not as successful as we thought we were going to get. So it's a tough service, I guess you can say.
All right, if there's no other questions, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, give me a thumbs up. Okay, no one's objecting, motion carries.
Emily, just a point of clarification then. So like going back to the
Yep.
financials.
Yes, you
we
have to
had
do
the,
that. Yes.
yeah, so like we had the 1.99, I guess.
Yep. Then you
Always
took
contingency here. Yep.
you reduce it by the 285 that was just approved, and I'm giving you a ballpark number, 285 that was just approved from
Yeah,
from-
yeah.
from there, so you're down to 1.7.
Yeah.
285 it was, right? So 1.71, and
Yeah.
then from here you have to deduct the $37,000. So you're down to 1.6.
So what's
And-
the 37,000?
It was $37,222 that we need from CMS.
For what? The move? The move?
Yes, yeah,
The-
the move.
Oh, okay.
The variance from budget. Yeah.
Yeah, the variance from budget. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then we also have to subtract the next page, the yellow items. Is it?
You all from that number, no, that's already
Already been-
1.9. So
It's the stuff we voted on today will be subtracted from it.
Yeah. So
So
you
the
just
200
have to
something.
take, if you can go back to the contingency breakdown. These yellows are already incorporated into this 1.9. They're already in there. So you don't have to worry about it. I'm just letting you know that before in December, you were at 2 point something, and now you're down to 1.9 because of these 2 yellow items.
Okay. Yeah, I'll email you separately. I didn't
Yep.
do that, but okay.
Yeah, and I could show you the entire breakdown completely. But right now you're about 1.6 with the 37,000 approval. This right here is a PO request to Fiber Optic Plus for temporary fiber, and Ron can actually speak a little bit more into that. But it's a PO request for $6,628. CMS would
Ignore the description.
Oh, yes, ignore that description. I apologize. The cost to be allocated to CMS is $6,316 and CAO $312.
What's this for now?
Ron?
This is to bring the to be able to integrate the existing school to the new school, and to be able to
Oh,
have
yeah,
the two
yeah.
running until they're until they can sever the fiber optic jumper. But
This
it will
doesn't
need
go
be
to the
separate.
change board?
Say that again.
This didn't go to the change board, but
The change order committee?
order, yeah.
Yes.
No, did it go? I wasn't part of that meeting. I apologize.
Why wasn't it like in that list of stuff we just like? Why is
Because
this separate out?
go directly to Fiber Optic Plus. The other changes are to new field construction. So
Gotcha.
Yep.
This wasn't presented at the subcommittee level. This is a direct deal between,
Steve,
yeah, this is a direct deal between you guys and them.
Okay.
right,
All right.
but
Anyone?
yeah, but we talked about the path route and what have you, so yeah.
Anyone have any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve it.
So move.
Just a second.
Second,
All in favor, give me a thumbs up. Okay, motion carries.
This is to formalize the recommendation from Perkins provided to you earlier about the additional FF&E, which includes student chairs, adult chairs, the kidney-shaped tables, and bookcases, all purchased under state contract numbers 16 PSX 071 and 16 PSX 0190. The motion is that CMSBC approves the listed PO increase number 1 to Suburban in the amount of $112,911.30.
Take a motion.
So moved.
A second.
second,
Second.
All in favor, give me a thumbs up. Okay, motion carries.
And we could skip the next one, Jack, because that's for Insalgo, and we're not going to be doing that one. No, 38. Yeah, that one. Yep. One more. And last but not least are the invoices for your approval. 2 for Newfield Construction, 1 for commissioning services, and 1 for Arcadis. The grand total amount of $3,414,984.62.
Okay, take a motion to approve.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who's second?
Second.
Yeah, all in favor, give me a thumbs up. Okay, motion carries. Is that it, Emily?
It's the presentation.
So with $1.6 million left in contingency and us quickly dwindling it down, are we in risk of blowing through it all by the end of this project? Like, are we going to have enough?
You still have
are-
CM contingencies.
Right, we still have CM contingencies. We are beyond 50% in construction. So usually at the 50% point, we have conversation with the CM about comparing CM contingency usage versus progress. And we entertain a credit change order from the CM to put those dollars back in the owner's pocket. So we will look to do that analysis this month and see what it is that might be coming back.
What's in the CM contingency right now?
If I'm not mistaken, it's about 1.1. Somewhere
So, like,
around that.
based with the amount of work we have left, what's the risk that we're gonna?
I have a feeling, and I'm prepared to offer you, if you were to ask me, 600,000 today. I mean, I'll give you back half of whatever I got.
I would like to correct Chris. The CM contingency currently stands at $1,379,068.
Sounds like a $750,000 change.
Plus or minus, you got it, Jack.
So we're not worried that we're not gonna have enough money to finish this project.
You are in the easier half. Nothing is easy, but it is the easier half of the project. We're out of the ground. Our major systems are in place. Our structure is in place. We're on the downhill glide. We're no longer climbing the hill.
I would say our biggest risk would be just abatement in the existing building.
That's what to say. I'm really worried about the abatement of that building.
I know we'll kind of run into there.
There's like rooms in the basement that are cemented. Like, who knows what we're gonna find in there?
Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa. Oh, that'd be funny. Weird funny. Okay, so Anyone else have anything else they want to bring up? It's been a long meeting. Been once, twice. All right. Meeting adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Everyone.
Night.